Hello, algebra students. So glad so many of you emailed me. Let me see if I had a lister on here. So far I've heard from Justine and Boyana and Kiona and Aaron and Emily and Maddie and James and Matt and Sam. I'm so glad you want to do something to improve your grade. Okay, so this is the first of the section videos. You should have already looked over the factoring over break first worksheet, the one that says section 1 trinomials. I'm going to read over the notes. You may not have tried the problems, and that's okay. But here's what I want you to do. I'm going to go through 4 problems, and you notice things look different. I'm having smart notebook troubles, and it's on break, so it's hard to get help. But I'm going to go through 4 problems in detail, and then hopefully you should be able to do the 10 problems at the back of that section. Now, I expect you to reply to me after you've done the 10 problems. I provided you with an answer key, and you can tell me what kind of help you need. You know, I'm getting number 7 wrong, or geez, Mr. Lawrence, I got 8 out of 9 or 8 out of 10 right. I'm feeling pretty good about it. Okay, so make sure you give me timely feedback, and I'll expect this by Tuesday, no later than Tuesday. Okay. All right, well, first off here, let's get down to this. We're just going to factor trinomials. Now, you've heard me say like 10 billion times that you should always try to GCF first. And we're going to try to GCF on these, okay? But in this first one here, there is no GCF other than 1. So we looked for the GCF. Here, the only factors are x and x. Here, there's a 2 times x. And there's a lot of factors of 35, none of which are x. You know, none would be common to all 3 terms. So now that I can't GCF, it's time to go A, B, C. So I'm going to go A, B, C. And remember, A is 1, B is -2, and C is -35. Now for my next step, I'm not going to use the negative on the 35, but I'm going to hold it in reserve. Okay, so I'm going to multiply A times C. So A times C will be 35. And like I said, I'm ignoring the negative right now. Okay. And I'm going to list the factors of 35, 1 and 35. 2 doesn't go in, 3 doesn't go in, 4 doesn't go in, 5 goes in 7 times, and then 6 won't go in, and I'm done. Okay. Now, because the 35 is negative, here's where it comes in. C is negative. I need to subtract 2 of these factors. Now, I can't do 5 and 35 because 5 times 35 isn't 35. Similarly, I can't use 1 and 7 together. I have to use the factors that have a product of 35. So I have to subtract 2 of them to get B's value. Well, B is -2. Well, 7 and 5, they're 2 away from each other. But here's where a lot of you make mistakes. You just want to go like 7x minus 5x. No, think about that. That equals 2x. I don't want 2x, I want -2x. So that would be incorrect. So I'm going to go with a 5x minus a 7x. And sure enough, that'll get me a -2x. Now I'm going to rewrite this trinomial here. I'm going to write the x squared. I'm going to have the -35 in. But I'm not going to write the -2x like that. I'm going to write it like this. Plus 5x minus 7x. Now, some of you would rather put the 5x with 35. That's fine. Just make sure that you keep it positive. And the 7x would come with the x squared, but you got to make sure it's negative. All right, so now that I have 4 terms, I group. Grabbing that negative, and now I'm going to GCF each quantity. It looks like the GCF here is x, and so I'm going to factor out an x, and I'll be left with an x plus 5. Here, my GCF is going to be -7, so I'm going to factor out a -7. Now be careful, it's very important. I put a -7 there. I have to put a -7 out front. The quantity will have an x plus 5 left. And I like that because you heard me repeat myself. I said x plus 5 and x plus 5. So therefore, that's a GCF. So I'm going to factor out an x plus 5. Now, I'm not dividing and canceling it out. I'm pulling it out of the quantity. I'm turning it into what appears to be a distribution problem. So don't throw it away. Okay, there you go. That one is done. This factor technique, this A times C thing, works every single time that the equation is, or the expression is factorable. However, it gets kind of hard if your product of A times C has a whole bunch of factors, say like 4,000. Now, we also learned about a square root trick where we could try that, and I can't go to a next page, so you just have to be patient. I'm going to have to do some erasing. Let me try my square root trick on this one and see how well it works. Remember, we had an x plus 5 as a quantity and an x minus 7. All right. Now, I think the square root trick is going to work pretty good on this one because B is relatively small. Or when B gets larger, it doesn't work so well. All right, so let's see here. Let's take the square root of 35, and that's going to be pretty darn close to 6, right? Square root of 36 would be 6, so it's going to be pretty darn close to 6. So I'm going to maybe go like a 5 and 9/10. You can check that on a calculator. Now, half of B would be 1, so I'm going to have to move up to 6 and 9/10, and then I could move down to 4 and 9/10. And these numbers are really close to 7 and 5. And look at that, I got 7 and 5 again. Now I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I could put the minus 7x and the plus 5x there, but when I factor it, I'm going to get the same thing. Okay, let's do another one here. This one, I don't think, number 2, I don't think I'll try to use the square root trick because B is getting a little bit larger. All right, now, first of all, I got to check for GCF. I don't see a GCF other than 1 between these 3 terms of the trinomial. So I'm going to do my A, B, C. And A is going to be 6, B is going to be negative 13, and C is going to be negative 5. All right, so, what? Okay. All right, so I'm going to multiply A times C, and I'm going to get 30, right? A times C is going to be 30. I know it's a negative, but I'm just kind of holding on to that. Because it's a negative, I'm going to subtract my factors. I don't think my square root trick is going to work, so I'm going to list them. 1 and 30, and 2 and 15, 3 and 10. Oh, 3 and 10 make 13. Oh, wait, I'm subtracting. That's not going to work. I need to subtract, remember? Okay, 4 is not going to work. 5 is going to go in 6 times. I'm having a hard time seeing it. Do you see it? I need to subtract 2 factors. How do I know to subtract, Kiona? Because C is negative. I need to subtract 2 factors of 30 to equal 13. Oh, there it is, 15 and 2. But is it 15 minus 2, or is it 2 minus 15? I think it's going to be 2x minus 15x, so that I get a negative 13x. All right, so now I come up here and I rewrite my trinomial, 6x squared. There's a minus 5 at the end. And then, let's see, I need a positive 2x and a minus 15x. And now I'm ready to group and factor. Now, some of you may be wondering on the last problem why we didn't solve. Because it's not equal to anything. It's only an expression. If it's equal to something, you have to solve. Oops, I've made a silly mistake here. Did you catch it? Minus 15x. All right, I need a plus sign between those quantities. Otherwise, I've changed it from addition to multiplication. And so now I'm going to factor out a 2x. Factor out a 2x there, and I'll get a 2x times the quantity of 3x plus 1. And I'm going to factor out a negative 5 and a negative 5. And I'm going to get a 3x plus 1. Ooh, I like that. There's a same factor, a common factor of 3x plus 1. And I'm going to factor him out. And then I'll have the quantity of 3x plus 1 times the quantity of 2x minus 5. And there you go. It's factored completely. Okay, I'm going to put 2 more problems up, and I sure would love for you to try them on your own. They actually will be equations, so you can go ahead and solve them. Let me get my slate all clean here, and I'll put my 2 problems up. It's a pain not being able to go to a blank page, but my smart notebook, something's wrong. It says the license expired. So anyway, we'll just have to do the videos like this. We'll do the best we can with what we have, and that's all anybody can ever expect from us. And if they don't like it, that's just too darn bad. So 12x squared minus 11x plus 2, that's going to equal 0. And then 4 is going to be 25 x squared plus 20, plus 3, excuse me, plus 3 equals negative 20x. Okay, so these are solving ones. If you'd like to pause the video, go ahead and see what you can do with them. Okay, here I am. I'm back. And I'm going to look for a GCF on number 3. I don't see one, so I'm going to go right to ABC. ABC. Easy as 12, negative 11, 2. All right, so A times C is going to be 24. And C is positive, right? So since C is positive, I'm going to be adding factors to get 11. Well, I know 8 plus 3 is 11, and 8 times 3 is 24. So I like that. The only problem is I'm confused because they're both negative. I mean, the 11 is negative. Oh, well, if the plus in the back is the Wendy's double stack, just make them both negative. Like that. Yeah. And so I'm going to rewrite this as 12x squared minus 8x minus 3x, that plus is unnecessary there, plus 2. That equals 0. Now it's time to group. Okay, gonna group. Put a plus in there. And then I'm going to factor out a 4x. And we'll get 4x times the quantity of 3x minus 2. Oh, I don't see a GCF. Looks like I already have it, except the signs are wrong. What's that, Sam? You want me to pull out a negative 1? Oh, good idea. Let's pull out a negative 1 and watch what happens. There we go. So now I can factor out a 3x minus 2 and 3x minus 2. And I'll get the quantity of 3x minus 2 times the quantity of 4x minus 1. That'll equal 0. Now I'm not done here. Some of you stopped here. We've got to solve. Remember the zero product property? We've got two numbers. We've got this number here, 3x minus 2, and this number here. They're both factors, and they're being multiplied to get 0 for an answer. The only way to get 0 for an answer is if one of them is 0. I'm going to find out which one is 0. I'm going to write 3x minus 2 equals 0. I'm going to write down 4x minus 1 equals 0. I'm going to solve for x, and then I'll know when each of them turns into 0. So I add 2 to both sides. I get 3x equals 2. I'll divide by 3, divide by 3. X is going to equal 2/3. Over here, I'm going to add 1 to each side. 4x is going to equal 1. Divide by 4, divide by 4. X is going to equal 1/4. So my solution set is going to be a 1/4 and a 2/3. If I put either of those numbers in for x into the original equation, I'll end up with 0. I just solved it. All right, one last one. And this one says 25x squared plus 3 equals negative 20. Ooh, that seems strange. Did you notice on the last one, it equals 0? Remember, with a quadratic, I want it to equal 0. Now, if you're in honors and you're worried about completing the square, that's the only exception to that rule. But normally, a quadratic, we want it to equal 0. So I am going to get rid of this negative 20x by adding 20x to both sides. Now notice I'm not just tacking it on the end. I want it in order so I don't make any silly mistakes. On the test, some people were adding 20x, but then were telling me 20x was C. No, A is always next to x squared. B is always next to x. C is always the constant. If I wrote it like this, 25x squared plus 3 plus 20x equals 0, B is still 20. So we go, no, it's the second one. No, it's not the second one. It has nothing to do with the second one. We write it in the middle because it's easier to work with, but it doesn't have to be the second one. B has to be the coefficient attached to x. C is the constant, the term without a coefficient. So now that I've made it equal to 0, I'm going to go looking for a GCF. Always check for a GCF. I don't see one. So I'm going to go A, B, C. And I'm going to say it's easy as 25, 20, and 3. And then I'm going to multiply A times C and get 75. Right? Now C is positive, so I'm going to add 2 factors of 75. I'm going to list the factors over here. I was running out of room. 1 and 75. 2 doesn't work. 3 and 25. 4 is not going to work. 5 and 15, I believe. Yeah. Oh, 5 and 15 is 20. 5x plus 15x is 20. Cool. Now I can rewrite this, and I'm going to rewrite it as a 25x squared plus a 3. It's going to be equal to 0. And instead of writing a positive 20x, I'm going to break it up into a plus 5x plus 15x. And now I'm ready to group. So I group. I GCF here and get 5x. GCF there, 5x. And so I pull a 5x out front, and I get a 5x plus a 1. On this one, I think the greatest common factor is 3. So I pull out a 3, and I get a 5x plus a 1. That equals 0. Now, quantity of 5x plus 1 is common to both products, so I factor out a 5x plus 1. And so now I have a 5x plus 1 times the quantity of 5x plus 3. That equals 0. I'm going to solve each piece. So I'm going to take 5x plus 1 equals 0, and 5x plus 3 equals 0, and I'm going to solve them, okay? You go ahead and solve them. I'll show you what I got. My solution set for these is going to be a negative 3/5 and a negative 1/5, and there you go. All right, so we did 4 problems. You have that notes page, and I want you to try those 10 problems and report back to me no later than Tuesday. All right, that's it for this video. I got to figure out how to get out of here. There we go, and find my thing so I can stop it. Mr. Lawrence signing off. Have a good night, everybody.